What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC 258. We have Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns, and as always, we're going to break down this card strictly from a betting perspective. If you want a more in-depth breakdown, I did post a full card breakdown and prediction video earlier in the week. I did a live stream as well where I covered a little bit of the weigh-ins, answered any final questions you guys had, gave my final thoughts and all that. Really went into a lot of detail on that, so go check that out. And yeah, here we're just talking some bets, talking some money lines, talking some props, all that good stuff, and talking the bets I have as well. So I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bets, and then I have 2 bets that are like really small sprinkles. So decent action, I guess, for this card. It's kind of a tough card from a betting perspective, but definitely looking to keep the momentum rolling after a crazy good card last card. So went 6 out of 8 on the bets last week. Hopefully, same results here. So before we get started, if you can leave a like on the video, helps out a ton, really does help with the algorithm, and it is much appreciated as always. And if you can leave a subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. Again, trying to reach that 10K goal, reaching for the end of the month. I think we're like 400 away. I think we can do it, but definitely have some ground to cover there. So if you do watch my videos, if you do enjoy my content, please hit the subscribe button. So we're going to get into it here, starting with the first fight of the night. I believe these are mostly in order here. We have Miranda Maverick versus Gillian Robertson, and I have my first bet of the night. I bet the under 1.5 for the Robertson Maverick, and I got it at plus 165. I have 1 unit on it, so I got this really early. I got it like 2 weeks ago as soon as I saw the line drop, because I'm one that will probably bet on, most, if not all, Gillian Robertson under 2.5 just because of the style. She's one of those killer be killed fighters. We see a lot of times where she either wins by finish or she loses by finish. She's been finished in 2 over 5 losses. Decent finish rate on her as well, and she has a willing dance partner with Miranda Maverick. And I know we can't look into this much, but it is something that I like to hear since I do have the under. In a Miranda Maverick interview, I heard that she predicted a round 2 TKO. And in a Gillian Robertson interview, I heard that she predicted a round 2 submission. So, I mean, that's music to my ears having the under. But as always, it's all talk. We're going to have to see. But yeah, the styles of these fighters, I think if it's on the feet, Maverick probably gets a knockout. Robertson's someone that if she does not get the fight down to the mat, he doesn't have the best striking whatsoever. Maverick striking looked fantastic against Luana Joju in her last fight. And I think she's going to have a massive striking advantage here. If it does hit the mat, and if Robertson does get on top, I think she's going to have a massive advantage on the mat, and probably find a submission. If she does not get on top, it's going to be tougher to find that sub, but still, I do give her the ground advantage there. So I think it's going to be all up to who implements their game plan, whether it is Maverick keeping it on the feet, which would be smart, finding the knockout, or Robertson getting into the mat, finding that sub. So either way, I don't care who wins. I bet the under at plus 165. I love that number, but the pick for me is going to be Robertson, but would not be shocked if Maverick was the stronger fighter in this fight, kept it on the feet, and absolutely teed off on Robertson. So really looking forward to that fight and hopefully getting a finish there. Same thing here. Philip Rowe, Gabe Green. I'm looking for a finish. I bet the under 2.5. Another line that I saw a couple weeks ago, I thought it was way off. I got it at plus 100. I have 1 unit on it on the under 2.5 for this fight. And we'll take a look at the stats real quick. I mean, it's pretty obvious just on paper. I mean, Rowe has a 100% finish rate. Green has a 100% finish rate. Neither guy in their career out of 21 combined fights have never won by decision. So just on paper, you can see like it's a solid spot, I think. I mean, Rowe's somebody that's been finished in half of his losses. Gabe Green's been finished in 66% of his losses, 2 out of 3 there. So yeah, I think this has, safe to say, a good chance of finishing, and just the styles of both fights. Both guys are going to want a war, especially on the Green side. Rowe's going to have a big reach advantage. Doesn't really use his reach well, and I think the small cage is going to benefit a guy like Green, somebody that's going to be able to get on the inside, and I think someone's getting put to sleep here. So yeah, the pick for me is Green, but I really like that under at plus 100. I don't know what it's at now, but I still think there's pretty solid value wherever it's at. But yeah, I'm going to take Green there. As far as other props, Green by KO plus 425 is not a bad spot to look, but man, I really do like the under. I like the fight doesn't go to decision. I'd be surprised, honestly, if this fight did not finish, especially with the styles of both guys there. Chris Gutierrez, Andre Ewell. Yeah, don't really want anything to do with this fight from a betting perspective. I'm going to slightly pick Chris Gutierrez. Of course, Ewell's going to have like an 8-inch, 7-inch reach advantage, which is scary. But, Gutierrez, I remember the Vince Morales fight. It was the very first card in Vegas. It was UFC Vegas 1. And he looked fantastic in that small cage. I thought the small cage would kind of benefit the Vince Morales side, somebody that could maybe close the distance, maybe get a takedown. But Gutierrez looked great in that small cage, and I think it was because maybe he was kind of forced to push the action a little bit. Gutierrez is somebody that kind of stays on the outside a lot of the time, so he definitely needs to get on the inside here against Andre Ewell, so we can't use that reach. And I think the leg kicks are going to be a big factor. But all in all, I think this is going to be a very close fight. I don't feel comfortable with the minus 130 on Gutierrez, but I'm going to pick him to win here. No action on it for me at all. Pauliana Viana versus Mallory Martin, and I have another bet on this fight, and it is another under. As you guys can tell, I have a ton of unders on this card, and for a really good reason, especially with the small cage. We're seeing a lot of finishes as well. And in this fight, I got the under 2.5 plus 190, 1 unit on that, and we'll kind of take a look at the stats here. Viana is somebody that has a 100% finish rate. So right off the bat, I feel like I'm getting value there because Viana's plus 150, I think, if she wins. Or Viana's plus 125, and I think if she wins, it's going to be inside the distance. So I think there's value there in that aspect, and we have seen Viana submitted by Veronica Macedo, which is kind of embarrassing there. So if Macedo can submit you, I think a brown belt, somebody pretty good grappler, Martin can submit you as well, or even Martin getting on top, maybe getting a ground and pound victory as well. So I think there's multiple paths for this to finish. Whether Viana keeps it on the feet, we've seen Martin almost finished by Hannah Cyphers. Viana does have some knockouts on her record. Whether it is an armbar from guard from the Pauliana Viana side, I think that's in play. I think a Mallory Martin submission's in play. I think a Mallory Martin ground and pound victory is in play. So I just see multiple paths to victory for a possible finish here. And at plus 190, I don't mind taking that shot all day. Belal Muhammad versus Diego Lima. I like Muhammad here. He is getting a little crazy with the odds, minus 475. So I do have a parlay with him. And I'll tell you right now, I parlayed him with the guy above him right there, Rodolfo Vieira. I got it at minus 162. I have 2 units on that. But I got Muhammad at minus 340. So I don't know, personally, I don't know if I parlay him at that minus 500, but he does seem like a safe pick, just struggling to see a path to victory for Lima. Muhammad's going to have the advantages pretty much everywhere on the feet. He's going to be throwing a lot more volume. Obviously, he has that really good wrestling he can fall back on as well. And I think for Lima to win, he's going to have to get a finish, and he's not much of a finisher. I mean, we saw him get one knockout before in the UFC, 48% finish rate, 19% by knockout, 29% by submission. Muhammad's never been submitted, so it's really hard to see a path to victory for Lima. I think Muhammad's a pretty safe play, and I do like him in that parlay, but I don't know about the minus 500, but like I said, I did get him at minus 340 there. Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez, another instance where I'm struggling to find a path to victory for Anthony Hernandez here. I mean, to beat Vieira, you'd think you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need takedown defense, and you're going to need power. And I honestly don't think Anthony Hernandez has really any of that. I mean, if you guys watch the weigh-ins, Vieira is going to be the much bigger guy, the much stronger guy. This guy is jacked, to say the least, and then his ground game is just levels above Hernandez here, and I think if it does hit the mat even once, it's probably over shortly after. They call him the black belt hunter for a reason. This guy is a phenom on the mat, and is taking a look at Anthony Hernandez and his record there, 71% submission rate. So he's finishing the majority of his fights by submission. That's not going to be on the table here whatsoever. I think he's going to have to knock out Vieira, and he only has one knockout win on his record that counts. I know he knocked out the Beverly Hills Ninja. He did pop for something in that fight, doesn't count, but his last knockout win that was official was the very first fight in his career, so I don't know if he has that punching power to put out a guy like Rodolfo Vieira, and I don't see him stopping the takedowns. So if he does not stop the takedowns, if he does not knock out Vieira, I'm really struggling to see a path to victory for Hernandez outside of maybe surviving until the third round. Maybe Vieira kind of gasses out. Maybe Hernandez is able to take over late, but even then, it seems like a little bit of a stretch to me. So I'm going to take Vieira. I'm going to take him to win by hopefully first round submission. And like I said, I do have Belal Muhammad parlayed with him at minus 162. I think it comes out to like minus 200. I think that's getting a little bit wide there, but I do think it's safe. I'll say that. As safe as can be for, MMA standards. I know a lot of big favorites have been losing lately, but I do like that parlay. Julian Marquez versus Maki Patola. Man, I was so close to pulling the trigger on Marquez. I think there's a couple different ways I was looking at playing him. I was looking at inside the distance. I was looking at the money line. I was looking at the fight doesn't go to decision line, but I just can't pull the trigger on this fight. This is not a fight I really want to touch. I do think this finishes. I don't really want to lay the minus 165. Obviously, big concerns of Marquez taking a 2-year and 8-month layoff. I think he's the much better fighter if he comes back and looks anything like he did in his last fight, but of course that was almost 3 years ago. So I think the smart move here is to pass or lay the chalk on the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 165, but ultimately I'm just going to sit back and watch this fight. I think it's going to be an absolute war, but I do lean strongly to the Marquez side. But again, there's question marks. I don't really feel comfortable, putting the money on it. Ricky Simone, Brian Kelleher, another fight I feel like Simone should win, but you can never count Kelleher out. I mean, Kelleher's live against pretty much anybody just because of how dangerous he is. 81% finish rate. We have seen Simone knocked out before. We have seen Simone submitted before, and Kelleher has one of the nastiest guillotines you'll ever see. He has some power. We saw him knock out Hunter Azure a couple fights ago. And Ricky Simone more than likely is going to be going for takedowns in this fight and going for a lot of them. So he's going to be playing with fire a little bit, but I do expect him to stay safe. But man, I can't lay the minus 240 on it. I mean, I'm going to be sweating the whole time because Kelleher is live from start to finish. Can never count the dude out. I know a lot of people taking a shot on Kelleher. I don't hate it. If I was to bet anything on this fight, maybe the Kelleher inside the distance at plus 400, something to look at. Kelleher by KO plus 1,000 is interesting. We've seen Simone rocked quite a bit. We've seen him knocked out by one Uriah Faber. So, yeah, definitely passing on the Simone side. I think it's a little bit too wide there because of how dangerous Kelleher is. If you're on the Kelleher side, I'd recommend probably the inside the distance or the straight money line at plus 220. Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. I don't want to talk about this much. I slightly lean Gastelum. He did not look great at the weigh-ins. I really question where his head's at right now. I mean, he's on a 3-fight losing streak, but it's against really good guys. Israel Adesanya, Darren Till, guys like that, Jack Hermanson. So it's really hard to gauge where he's at. This is going to be a good fight to see where he really is at this point of his career. And it's a shame to say, but I think he may be on a decline, man. I mean, I know he's 29 years old, but he just has been looking awful as of late. Could that, awful Gastelum still be enough to beat Ian Heinisch? I think so, but Heinisch is going to bring it. Heinisch has a lot of heart, has a lot of toughness, has never been knocked out. I think this probably goes to decision. The minus 210, probably a little bit too wide, but not laying my money on it either way. I see a lot of people taking a shot on Heinisch, especially after seeing the weigh-ins. I don't hate it, I guess, but just something I really don't want to put my money on either way. Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. I like Barber here. I would have rather bet it at where it opened at plus 160 now that it's plus 110. Yeah, definitely staying away. I feel like this could be a very close. I do feel like a big factor in this fight, and not a lot of people are talking about it, is going to be the wrestling game of Barber. We've seen Grasso taken down quite a bit. We've seen her struggle with the ground game. And we haven't seen much wrestling from Barber, but why would we? Because looking back at Barber's record, I mean, she's fought Gillian Robertson. Like, why would you take her down? You know what I mean? She fought Roxanne Modafferi. Why would you take her down? So she hasn't really needed to use that wrestling, but she does have it in her back pocket. Very strong. We've seen her get 2 takedowns on the Contender Series. We saw her get a takedown against Hannah Cifers, finish the fight shortly after. So I think the takedowns will be key in this fight. That's why I do lean Barber. I felt a little bit iffy about it earlier in the week, but now that I'm digging a little bit more into it, I like Barber a little bit more. Do I like her enough to bet her? Probably not, and I would have liked to get her at a better line there. So definitely passing there. A prop, I don't mind. Barber by knockout, plus 375. She's somebody that has finished the majority of her wins, but Grasso has never been knocked out, but there is a first for everything. So taking Barber. Not going to bet it. If it was plus 160, yeah, I definitely bet it there. But now that it's plus 110, the line's come down. I think the smart move is to pass. And then Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. If you guys watch any of my videos, I like Kamaru Usman quite a bit. I don't know. I like him. I think he has multiple paths to victory, and I know people don't like Usman. I get it. People love Gilbert Burns. He's a very exciting fighter. He's active. People like that a lot. Nobody likes Snoozman, somebody that's going to hold you up against the cage. I remember a lot of people very upset against him and Jorge Masvidal that he was just holding Masvidal up the cage. I want to say for like 18 minutes. But I'm one that likes these boring fighters. I like guys like Curtis Blades. I like guys like Kamaru Usman because they're really good at making money. And, people will complain about it on Twitter, but I'm completely fine with going with Kamaru Usman here. He's never been knocked out, and it's just hard to see, how does Gilbert Burns win this? He's going to have to either knock out Usman, which has never happened, or he's going to have to submit Usman off his back because I don't see him getting on top of Usman, somebody who has a 100% takedown defense. If anything, I think the takedowns will come from Usman, and although that is playing with fire, he is a black belt himself, I think it would be kind of hard for Gilbert Burns to find something off his back, but that's his path to victory. I think it's kind of a limited one, honestly. So I like Usman here to kind of, quote, make the fight boring. It won't be boring for me because I'll be winning some money, hopefully, but I do think Usman's going to win a decision here. And I did pull the trigger on Usman. I wanted to wait all week, maybe get a lower line. I know a lot of money on Burns came in. I couldn't figure out how to play Kamaru Usman. I was thinking about maybe parlaying him. I was thinking about maybe hammering the money line there. But ultimately what I did was I played Kamaru Usman to win by decision at plus 125. I saw that line. I liked it a lot. I have 1 unit on it. And then what I also did was sprinkle the 4 and 5 round props. I have 0.1 units on Usman to win in round 4, plus 1,400, and I have 0.1 units on Usman to win in round 5, plus 1,800. So not so much looking to hit that, really. It's kind of a hedge just in case he does finish in those later rounds. What I really want to hit is that decision prop where I went, full unit on it. I don't expect Usman to win inside the distance, but if he does, it's going to be late, I'd imagine, and I'd hope. So, like I said, Burns, I mean, I like the guy as well, but it just seems like such a tough matchup going against Usman here, and I'm going to take Usman to win a pretty dominant decision. I don't see Burns submitting him or knocking him out. I think that would have to be his path to victory, so give me Kamaru Usman for the win there. But if you're on Burns, good luck. No shame in that, I get it, but I'm going to take Kamaru Usman here. So that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. If you can hit the like button, it would help out a ton. Subscribe if you have not yet. Hit my Twitter up, DFS by the numbers. My Instagram up, DFS, or hit my Twitter up, DFS_numbers. My Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I'll be posting my bets on there so you guys can check them out. I'm assuming I won't add any new bets, but maybe I wake up and something sticks out there. So check that out just in case. So that's about it, guys, and good luck on Saturday. Hopefully keep it rolling after a really good card last week. This week's card is a lot tougher, but I'm feeling solid about my spots. I mean, I wish I had a couple straight bets, but a lot of these fights are like 50-50, honestly. So prop week for me. Hopefully it works out. I've been pretty solid on the props. I've been pretty solid on the parlays. So I'm ready to make some money, and good luck, guys, and talk to you soon.